What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Crypt Door podcast. I am Tony. Hope you're all doing well on this fabulous Monday morning, almost afternoon, but still kind of morning for me. Hope you're all doing great today. Since the last time we talked, today we're going to get into a little discussion here about why certain places feel heavy. And there's a lot of different reasons, and we're going to go through them during this episode right here. So let's get into it. Now, there's a feeling people struggle to describe. It's not fear, it's not panic, it's not even necessarily sadness, it's weight. You walk into a place and something changes. Your pace slows down, your voice lowers, your awareness sharpens. Nothing is happening, and yet something feels present. Today, we're talking about why certain places feel heavy. Not haunted the way movies use the word, not active, not dramatic, heavy. This episode isn't about ghost stories, it's about atmosphere, memory, emotion, and the way places seem to hold on to something long after people leave. Places like cemeteries, hospitals, old folks' homes, abandoned buildings, hotels, and land with no visible history at all. Why do some places feel neutral and others feel like they're pressing back against you? And why do people across cultures describe this sensation almost the same way? Today, we're slowing everything down and walking through this carefully. Now, let's get into what people mean when they say places feel heavy. When people describe a heavy place, their words repeat across interviews, cultures, and personal accounts. They say things like, the air felt thick. It felt like the room was watching me. I suddenly felt tired. It felt serious. Or, it felt old. They don't usually say, I was terrified. Heavy isn't fear. Fear is sharp. Heavy is slow. Fear makes you want to run. Heavy makes you want to stop. That distinction matters. Now let's get into heavy versus haunted. Haunted implies movement, interaction, disruption. Heavy implies stillness, pressure, presence without action. Many places people label as haunted are actually just emotionally saturated environments. Nothing is happening, but something has happened there before, repeatedly, intensely, or for a very long time. Now, why the body reacts first. People often say, I felt it before I thought it. That's because the body notices changes faster than logic. Subtle shifts like sound dampening, temperature changes, air pressure, lighting differences, and echo behavior. The brain registers these first, then tries to explain them later. The explanation often comes after the sensation. Now let's talk about memory, emotion, and environment. Places don't remember in a human way, but emotion leaves residue. Human beings generate enormous emotional energy. especially during grief, fear, pain, love, desperation, and anticipation. When those emotions occur repeatedly in the same location, something changes. Not spiritually, structurally. Emotional saturation. Places that feel heavy often share one thing: long term emotional intensity. Here's some examples here: hospitals, nursing homes, asylums, asylums, prisons, battlefields, shelters, and long occupied homes. Not because of death alone, but because of repetition. One tragic moment doesn't saturate a place, years of emotion do. Now let's get into why many cemeteries feel calm. Now, this surprises people. Many cemeteries don't feel heavy at all. Normally, I would say they feel quiet, neutral, and peaceful. Why? Because cemeteries are places of acknowledgement and release. Grief is allowed there. Silence is intentional. Emotion is processed. Heavy places often don't allow release. Now, when maybe nothing bad happened there, but it still feels kind of like off. Now, this is where the conversation deepens. Some places feel heavy with no recorded tragedy, no deaths, no legends, no obvious history. Yet people still react. Possible explanations people across cultures have proposed: prolonged human presence, environmental acoustics, geological features, subconscious pattern recognition, expectations shaping perception. But none of these fully explain why multiple people independently report the same sensation. Heavy places often share an unusual silence. Not quiet, muted. Sound behaves differently. Echoes disappear. Footsteps feel swallowed. Silence removes distraction. And when distraction disappears, awareness rushes in. Now let's talk about the role of anticipation. The brain doesn't like uncertainty. In heavy places, there's no clear threat, no clear explanation, no distractions. That ambiguity creates weight. Now let's talk about cemeteries, buildings, and land itself. Let's talk about specifically about places the Crypt Door viewers and listeners know well. Cemeteries can feel calm, reflective, grounded. But some sections feel heavier than others. Often older sections, often neglected areas, often places where remembrance has faded. Attention matters. Now, as far as the cemetery portion of this goes, I just talked about, I have felt places that maybe that do feel heavier in certain sections of the cemetery than others, and some of the older sections or the neglected areas, yes, I'm gonna say they do at times feel heavier than others. Abandoned buildings. Abandoned places feel heavy because Purpose is gone. Identity is lost. Time feels paused. A place without purpose feels unresolved. What about land with no structures? Some open land feels heavy too. This is often linked to natural geography, isolation, long term human passage, events lost to history. Not everything heavy has a plaque. Now, we could talk about what a heavy place may actually be. Here's the calm truth: a heavy place doesn't mean danger, spirits, haunting, or a threat. It may simply mean awareness without distraction. Heavy places slow us down. They strip away noise. They force presence. And presence can feel uncomfortable when you're not used to it. And why do some people feel it more than others? People who notice heavy places often move slowly, observe quietly, reflect naturally, and they aren't rushing. People who rush rarely feel heaviness. Noise protects us from awareness. Heavy places don't demand belief, they demand attention. They remind us that memory matters, emotion leaves marks, silence isn't empty, and not all presence makes noise. If you've ever stood somewhere and felt something you couldn't explain, you weren't imagining it, you were noticing. And sometimes that's all a place asks. All right, guys, that was different. What do you guys think? Throw it out in the comment box below. And I'd like to say before we close tonight, I want you to think about the last place that made you pause. Not because something happened, but because something felt present. A hallway that felt quieter than it should have. A room that made you lower your voice. A stretch of land that felt aware. Maybe nothing was there. Or maybe what you were feeling wasn't about fear at all, but memory, atmosphere, or simply the moment asking you to slow down. Heavy places always don't mean danger. Sometimes they're reminders. Reminders that emotion lingers, that silence has texture, and that not everything meaningful makes noise. And maybe that's why those places stay with us long after we leave, because they asked us to notice something we normally rush past. So next time you walk into a space that feels different, don't panic, don't assume, just observe. Because awareness isn't something to fear, it's something to respect. Thank you guys for spending this time in the quiet with me tonight. Until next time, walk gently, pay attention, and remember, some places don't just exist, they're felt. Thank you all so much. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment box below, and I will be talking to you later.